Hi, Tom. How are you?
Good, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background with the cybercrime?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. I've been working in cybercrime for about 22 years now. I was an FBI agent for 20 years, and most of that time was spent investigating different types of computer crime, cybercrime. And I retired from the FBI a couple years ago, and I now work for a private cybersecurity company based out of Pittsburgh called QIntel.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. So can you tell us about cybercrime during this pandemic that we are currently going through?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, and thanks for having me on to talk about this. I think it's an important topic. So there's some things that have changed about our lifestyle and our work style during the pandemic, and I think it really increases the risk for everybody to become a victim of cybercrime. I think as everybody knows at this stage, as the current date, what's going on is that we're in the midst of this pandemic. It's affecting the lives of all Americans. It's changing the way we work, the way we shop, the way we eat, the way we interact with each other. Yes, the federal government is encouraging social distancing and work from home and restricting international travel. And state governments are implementing different regulations and restrictions and recommendations on domestic travel and closing non-essential businesses and prohibiting large gatherings and things like that. So it's really a different sort of lifestyle and work style for all of us right now.
Right. I mean, it is a huge adjustment, and we are spending so much more time on our electronics than we normally would.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons that we're opened up to cyber crimes and to computer crimes. I mean, the major reason, the most significant point, is that we have more people who are at home. There's been a dramatic increase in the number of people who are working at home. There's been a sharp increase in unemployment, which also means more people at home, and schools, colleges, universities are closed now, resulting in children and young adults and other students being at home and doing their studies from at home. And all of this has turned into more time on the internet, more online shopping, more online banking. Social activities, interestingly enough, have moved to cyberspace. So there's church in cyberspace now, there's club meetings in cyberspace, there's happy hours in cyberspace. So all these things that we normally did face to face, we're now doing them online. And there's also a greater demand for government services, which are also being sought out online. Anyways, the bottom line to all this is that more people are online, they're doing more business online, and this presents more opportunities to the cyber criminals.
Right. I mean, that sounds absolutely correct, because when you are online and you are making these new accounts, whether you're shopping or doing something recreationally, you are continuing to put your information out there. And the more information you put out there, the more easy it is to obtain it. What are some things that we can do to keep ourselves safe?
Yeah, so the cyber criminals have caught on to this, and they, just like we talked about, they know that people are online and they know there's more victims out there. So they're crafting specific scams and fraud and different types of cyber attacks to try to take advantage of this. So the first thing we can do is just be aware of these things and have these discussions like we're having right now. I think that's great. And then there's some other, basic things that everybody can do to protect themselves from cybercrime and to make themselves less likely to become a victim of cybercrime, just like locking your doors at night and leaving the porch light on and things like that decrease your chances of becoming a victim of regular types of crime. There's things we can do to decrease our chances of being victimized in cyberspace. And so some of those things would be to make sure that you have antivirus software installed on your computer. And I'm happy to be able to say that that Armstrong Zoom Internet offers free antivirus software to its customers. So if you are a customer of Armstrong and Zoom, you can download Trend Micro antivirus software. And I know that you're going to put a link for your viewers to see that. The other important thing that people can do, in addition to having antivirus software, is that they can keep their software up to date. So they can keep their Windows operating system or their Linux operating system or their Apple operating system, whatever it is they may use, apply the security updates that the software developers put out. And it doesn't just go for the operating system. That would also apply to the other software you're running on your computer, like your word processor, the games that you may play, the photo editing software that you may have. All of these things need to be updated on a regular basis to basically protect them from different vulnerabilities and attacks that the cyber criminals can do. And then the third thing is for people to be vigilant when they're online and to look out for the different types of scams and attacks that might be coming out at them, and understand how to recognize those.
Okay, can you explain how two-factor authentication could help our viewers protect themselves?
Sure. So one of the more common attacks that we see today, whether it's with fraud related to coronavirus or any type of cyber attack, is what we call phishing. And phishing is when a cyber criminal sends you an email and they try to make the email message look like it's coming from someplace legitimate, like, for instance, your bank or your employer or something along those lines. And the email message tries to get you to divulge what your username and password is for that particular service. So, you might see a phishing email that looks like it's coming from your bank. It tells you that there's something wrong with your account and you need to click a link to go and reset your password. And when you do click on that link, it's asking you to put in your username and password. And this is how the cyber criminals steal that information. So one way to protect against that, is to use something called two-factor authentication. And what two-factor authentication is that means that in addition to you having to put in your username and password to log into a website, you have to provide a second factor, which is something that you have in your possession. It might be a number that is generated on your cell phone. It might be a text message that is sent to your cell phone. And that second factor is presumably something that only you have. So that even if the cyber criminal steals your username and password, when they go to log into that site, if they do not have your cell phone or they don't have whatever other token you're using for your second factor, which they very likely won't, they won't be able to get in. So this is really two-factor authentication is really a great way to defeat many of the different types of cyber attacks that are out there.
Tom, can you show us what some of these phishing attacks look like?
Sure, Kate. I'd be happy to do that. Now, one thing I want to say is that these attacks can come not only through your email message, but through email messages. They can also come as text messages. So the first example that I am showing you here, this is an example of a text message that was sent to citizens in the United Kingdom. It's made to look like it's coming from the UK government. And you can see that the message says that the UK government has issued a payment of £458 to all residents as part of its promise to battle COVID-19. And then it says, tap here to get more information. And this is a really good example of a phishing text message, because if you click that link that they have there to get more information, it's not taking you to a UK government site, because this message did not in fact come from the UK government. It's taking you to a website operated by the cyber criminals where they attempt to install a malicious software, virus, whatever it may be, onto your cell phone. The next example I want to show you is something that hits a little bit closer to home. This is a text message that says that there's a $100 reward for Costco customers. And it says that Costco's version of the stimulus check is to give all of their loyal customers $100 for free shopping at Costco. And again, just like with the email, with this text message that I showed you to the UK citizens, this message has a malicious link in it. And really what they're trying to get you to do is to click on this from your cell phone. And then lastly, because I talked about phishing in email earlier, I'm showing you this example of a classic textbook COVID-19 phishing email. This one is designed to look like it's coming from the CDC. This email, in fact, has nothing to do with the CDC. It was not sent by the CDC. It was sent by a cyber criminal. And they're telling you that there's new COVID cases in your area. And if you want to find out about what's going on with COVID in your area, you should click a link. Now, when you look at that link is constructed to look like a legitimate link. It says cdc.gov in it. And at first glance, it looks innocuous. It looks like, oh boy, I should click on that and find out information about new cases in my area. But this email message was constructed in such a way by the cyber criminals to hide what is behind that link. And what is behind that link is actually another link that takes you to a malicious site. And that malicious site will then attempt to steal your identity. So, so we have all these different types of scams out there. We have these types of messages, and they're all designed to try to trick people into responding to them. So if your viewers can learn to recognize these and learn not to respond to them, that can be their best defense.
Tom, let's say we get an email that looks suspicious. What should we do in that occasion?
So really the best thing to do is to not take the action that the email tells you to take, but to instead go to a trusted source and find out if the email is legitimate. So for example, if you receive an email message that claims to be from your bank, and the message says that your account has been compromised or something else, and you need to click a link here and go and reset your account information, don't do what that email says. Instead, call your bank. Get your credit card out, get your bank statement out, look to see what the phone number really is for your bank, a trusted source, again, your credit card or your bank statement. Call the bank and say, hey, did you guys send me this email message that I just received? And chances are they're going to say, no, we don't send emails out asking people to reset their password. Likewise, in the example that I showed you from the CDC, it had all this sound like really interesting information. Find out about COVID cases in your area. Don't click on that link in that email message. Instead, go to the CDC website. You can, if you don't know what that is, you can Google CDC, but I can tell you right now it's cdc.gov, and go to that website and see if that same information is there. That's the best way to deal with these threats, is to go to another source for information.
Are criminals targeting stimulus checks?
Yes. So we've seen all sorts of different fraud crop up now that we're in the midst of coronavirus. And stimulus checks is one type of fraud that the criminals are trying to exploit. And this might come in the form of the phishing emails that I just discussed. It might come in the form of emails that are trying to install malware on your computer. But what they're using is they're using the popularity of stimulus checks, the fact that it's in the news, the fact that people need their stimulus checks and they're thinking about them, to try to trick people into responding to an email or installing something on their computer that they really shouldn't.
Wow. Can you also tell us about some of the new phone scams during this pandemic?
Certainly. So the attacks are not just coming through your computer, they're also coming over the phone. So what we've seen the cyber criminals do is using robo-dialing, telemarketing techniques to place phone calls and to say things like, there's a test kit available. If you would like to buy a test kit for coronavirus, send your credit card here. They've been saying things like there's student loan forgiveness due to coronavirus. And you're going to play some samples of some of these phone messages for your viewers to listen to. But the bottom line is that the attacks are not just coming in the forms of email messages and chat messages. The attack can also come in the form of a phone call that tries to trick you into something that you shouldn't do, such as giving away your credit card information. And the caller will often use something related to coronavirus to make that call seem all that more important.
Hello, this is Bradley Jasek with an important message regarding the effects of the coronavirus outbreak on your student loans. As you may have already heard, President Trump invoked his power as Commander-in-Chief by declaring a national emergency due to the widespread impacts of COVID-19. New measures will include waiving interest on your federal student loans until further notice. During this time, our offices have continued to maintain full staffing levels and will continue to do so until further notice. For more information on how these new measures will impact your future payment obligations, call us back today at 855-264 before 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks and have a great day.
Response Act has made coronavirus testing more accessible immediately. If you want to receive a free testing kit delivered overnight to your home, press 1. If you do not want your free testing, press 2.
What else would you recommend that we need to know right now?
Well, what I would say is for people to be vigilant of the different types of attacks out there. And I would say the best way for people to arm themselves and to be prepared for this is to understand what is currently going on in terms of the pandemic. So I would encourage people to read up on information that's available from legitimate sites that have accurate information, such as the CDC White House FEMA site, which is at coronavirus.gov, the Pennsylvania Department of Health site, which is at health.pa.gov. And from the information that they can read on those sites, they can understand, for instance, what's going on with stimulus checks. Is there a cure? What's really going on with a cure? What's going on with a vaccine? What is going on with test kits? And when they know this information, then they can help identify different scams that are coming at them. There's also a couple links that I think you're going to provide to your viewers that have information on specific cyber attacks. One of those is the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Pennsylvania, which is here in our part of Pennsylvania, and they have a nice website with all sorts of useful information on COVID-19 fraud. And also the Federal Trade Commission. They have a specific website with information on coronavirus fraud. And so visiting those two websites will help educate you on what to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for providing those. Those are great resources that we can check against. Thank you for all of this info. I really appreciate you coming on and telling us about all this so we can keep ourselves safe.
You got it, Kate. Thanks very much for having me. I hope it helps.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us with you, and thank you for watching.
For more than 60 years,
Armstrong has been here for you.
We keep you connected
to your family, business, and world.
Because right now, in this moment,
nothing is more important.
Our network is monitored 24/7.
And our support team is here to help.
Because going the extra mile to care for you
is what we do best every day.